My friend, I've changed my mind about something. Changed my mind about one of the most pervasive diseases in our society today. I've changed my mind about cancel culture. I have completely changed my mind about cancel culture. Now in this video, I'm gonna share with you what I used to believe about cancel culture, how I got it wrong, and what I believe now, and why I believe these beliefs about cancel culture now. But first, here's two important disclaimers. Ask your doctor if watching this video is right for you. Second, I acknowledge this is mostly a non-comedy video on a comedy channel. I ask for your forgiveness. And also, before I get into it, why am I making this video? Well, I'll tell you why. Because I see amongst the freedom-loving community, the way people relate to cancel culture is a way that robs them of so much of their freedom, probably our number one value. And also, I'm gonna be sharing with you the number one mistake I believe freedom lovers make as it relates to cancel culture. So let's get into it. What I used to believe about cancel culture is that it's something that we should be afraid of because it could hurt us. It could take things from us. We could be canceled. I changed my mind. Now I believe cancel culture is something not to be afraid of. Just like being afraid of the wind doesn't serve you, I don't think we should be afraid of cancel culture any more than the wind, which is at a level of zero fear. Now, before I share with you why I changed my mind about cancel culture in this regard to believing we should have absolutely zero fear of it, while inviting you to re-examine your own beliefs about cancel culture, I've got a little confession for you. I am guilty of once upon a time being afraid of cancel culture. I was intimidated by it. Case in point, back almost 4 years ago, do you remember that whole you gotta post the black square on Instagram? What's that gonna do? Well, nothing, but it'll help you not get canceled. At the time, posting the black square, it didn't actually make sense to me, but I did it. I even had a friend of mine who is black call me up and say, like, JP, don't post that. That whole thing's a distraction. But I did it anyway because I succumbed to the fear of cancel culture. But shortly thereafter, the biggest thing that I experienced that helped me change my mind, helped me snap out of the hypnotic trance of fearing cancel culture, was having cancel culture come after me in a big way. It was great. Why was it great? Because it taught me a lesson. It taught me a lesson about what cancel culture really is. Like so many things that you and I might be afraid of, our fear of what we think the thing is usually way disproportionate to what the thing actually is. So my biggest lesson that I learned going through cancel culture multiple times was that cancel culture only works if you consent to it. You cannot be canceled unless you consent to it. Cancel culture is a consensual relationship. The problem is, most people who get controlled by cancel culture and ultimately are either canceled or they alter their behavior, their words, they censor themselves out of an attempt to avoid getting canceled. They're only controlled by cancel culture because they're consenting to it, but they don't realize they're consenting to it. So how do people consent to cancel culture even though they don't understand they're doing it? Through the wedding ring of fear. When you have fear, that is your consent to cancel culture having control over you. Here's the secret. It doesn't have control over you. You have control over you. You externalize your power. You surrender your power to the woke mob when you are consenting through the bond of fear. Fear of what, JP? Please tell me, because I don't want to be intimidated by cancel culture. I don't want to be canceled. I want to be a free individual in alignment, in integrity with my truth at all times. Yeah, me too. So the common fear that gets people to consent to cancel culture is the fear of losing things that they have. The fear of losing things that we believe cancel culture could take away. things like money, status, being platformed, losing reputation. If you fear losing what they could take away, you are controlled. You are an obedient sheep being controlled by people you probably don't want to be controlled over, because you are consenting to that relationship by fearing that you could lose what they could take away. Now, most of the times, they're actually not going to take those things away. But being real, yeah, it's a possibility. That's why this takes courage. So when I've been through my various cancel culture experiences, what I've learned is, okay, I have a choice. I can be true to my values, I can live in integrity with my values, or I can surrender that in order to avoid losing what they could take away. What they can take away, even though they probably won't take it away, but what they could take it away, they aren't things where when you and I are on our deathbed, we'll regret losing those things. But on the other hand, what you give away if you consent to cancel culture are the very things that on your deathbed, you will regret having given up. Giving up your integrity, giving up your courage, giving up your values, giving up your purpose, giving up your mission, selling those things out to keep the things that we think matter: money, status, reputation, but they ultimately don't matter. Here's what cancel culture doesn't want you to know. It is impossible for them to take away the things that truly matter. They can potentially take away things that'll have you stressed out for a little while, but they can't take away what really matters: your values, your relationships, your family, your friends, your mission, your purpose, your connection to serving God, serving something greater than yourself. They can't touch those things because they're under your control. And I think as a freedom lover, the last thing we want to do is surrender our freedom so we're living in a consensual relationship with a master, cancel culture, that does not deserve to be a master. And that puts us into the polarity of us being the opposite of what we stand for. We become controlled, we become obedient, we become not a lion, we become a sheep. And you only become those things if you succumb to the fear of losing what they could take away. But you stay something far greater than that, where maybe you have the fear, I could lose those things. I know I had that fear, but you don't succumb to the fear. Rather, you have the courage to stay in alignment with yourself, speaking your truth, being a free person, and that keeps you a lion. And I'll also tell you something else that cancel culture doesn't want you to know. Hell on earth is the suffering that comes when you are betraying yourself in terms of betraying your values. But I'll also tell you this, that they also don't want you to know. You have ultimate peace of mind as long as you have the courage to live in integrity with your values. You have peace no matter what your external circumstances are. My personal experience having cancel culture waves coming at me, I'm intimidated. You better stop posting this, you better apologize, or else this, and this. Once I decided, no, I have to be true to myself, my values. I have to stay standing for what I stand for. I did have fear. I was gonna lose things. But here's how my reality turned out. I didn't lose anything, but I gained a hell of a lot. First of all, I gained a hell of a lot of integrity with myself. And continuing to stand for what I stand for, I also gained a lot of trust with other people. It also grew my audience. I thought cancel culture was gonna make me lose my audience, shrink my audience. It actually gave me the opposite, growth, relative to what I thought would happen. But enough about me. Consider these warriors that deserve to be on Mount Rushmore, these people who have proven to be uncancelable, because you'll see they model the very thing I'm talking about. And one of the reasons why I'm talking about it is one of the number one questions I get from freedom-loving people is like, hey JP, there's a lot of backlash in me speaking my mind, or I'm afraid of this and this. So I think a lot of people need to hear this message. But consider these warriors who have proven to be uncancelable. Dave Chappelle, Jordan Peterson, Matt Walsh, and to an extent, Joe Rogan. Now, I have never seen more cancel culture come at these people than anybody else. Like what I've experienced pales in comparison to these people. Yet, why in the heck are they not canceled? Answer, they have not consented to it. You look at Jordan Peterson, Dave Chappelle. Why don't they consent to it? Because they don't fear losing what cancel culture could potentially take away. They don't say, oh, cancel culture, you want me to be different? Okay, I'll be different so that I can keep these things. They look at cancel culture like a fierce lion and say, here's what I stand for, and I'm gonna keep standing for it. I may even get a little more bold and a little more fierce because of you. And what happens to these people? They simply grow. It's like their response to cancel culture is fertilization for themselves, their movement, their messages. Because the more they get cancel culture, the deeper rooted they become in their own integrity with their own values, and that fertilizes them. They've grown like wildfire in a good way. And guess what? It's not just for them. It's something you and I can embody in small ways and big ways as of right now. Because cancel culture is not going anywhere. And lastly, consider this. Would you want to be controlled by cancer? Probably not. I would rather have a relationship with good health rather than have a relationship with cancer. Well, consider this. Cancel culture, it's one letter away from being cancer culture, and I do think they're the same thing. In the body, cancer, it's cells of the body who are acting very abnormally, attacking other cells of the body. Cancel culture is the same thing in the human body. They stand for nothing. They just simply attack other cells of the human body. You can consent to that. You can let that dictate the health of your life, or you can say, no, that's not where I'm at. I don't want to stoop to that level. I don't want to be controlled by that. And before we close this, here's one other thing that cancel culture absolutely doesn't want you to know. What motivates people to become part of the cancel culture mob? I would dare say it's them having low integrity and them hating seeing other people standing in integrity. People who lack purpose, lack integrity, hate other people exemplifying the character traits that they themselves are unwilling to take on. There is nothing more irritating for a person than seeing someone else live in integrity with purpose and values when they themselves are not. Activism is nothing more than useless people trying to feel important. In cancel culture, it's just riddled with this activist things where people truly stand for nothing. They don't know what they stand for. They just simply attack other things as though they themselves are cancer. So, my friends, I think freedom has never been more important, at least in our lifetime. And I know people, we can love freedom, but we are doing nothing unless we stay free, starting with our lives. And you're not going to be free if you are intimidated by cancel culture, if you fear it, if you consent to it. You will remain a free, sovereign being if you realize cancel culture only works if you consent to it, and you consent to it through fear, specifically fear of losing what they could take away. And I'm not saying the goal here is to be fearless. I'm here to say we're all humans. Of course, we're going to have fear. But do you put fear in your driver's seat, or do you put it in the back seat while you stay courageous, principled as a free, sovereign being, speaking your mind and letting your words and actions live in incredible integrity with your values and your principles? If you can do that, you are a lion and you are a free human being emanating the vibration of freedom, which I would dare say helps the world around us when we need it most. Stay free, my friends. Freedom lovers know that health is the foundation of freedom, and your immune system is like the Bill of Rights to that freedom. Now I'm gonna put my shirt back on. That's why Fierce Immunity by Rebel Lion is a part of my daily routine every single day. Fierce Immunity is the most potent immunity formula on the market in terms of strengthening your immunity and rebuilding your immunity. I'll tell you more about that in a second. But first, people who are awake know You're not going to be healthy and have a strong immune system by accident in today's world. Things going on in our environment and our food supply and other areas, be they intentional or unintentional, they weaken people's health and immunity, and I don't want to stand for it. So let me tell you what makes Fierce Immunity the most potent immunity formula on the market and different from anything else. Our formulators use patented technology to test natural ingredients across every single system in the body. And what came back was over 1 trillion different data points that showed these specific ingredients in Fierce Immunity were the most potent ingredients for building and strengthening your immunity. But it doesn't stop at the individual ingredients in Fierce Immunity. How our ingredients synergistically work together amplifies the effects of all the ingredients in terms of building your immunity. I know, and maybe you do too, if we don't have our health, we've got nothing, and we certainly don't have true freedom. That's why Fierce Immunity is something I take every single day, and you can too. And now, for a limited time only, due to the generosity of the Lions at Fierce Immunity, you get a free bottle with purchase. If you want to ensure your freedom from the inside out, just go to getfiercenow.com/JP. When it comes to taking control of our health and our immunity, I think it's time to get fierce.